Welcome back to an update on the current state of vaccine tourism. Just as we predicted in the last video, the availability of COVID vaccines for foreigners and non-residents keeps growing around the world. While small jurisdictions heavily based on tourism are the ones most likely to gather enough political and public support to allow the vaccination of tourists, a relative oversupply of vaccines in the United States is creating an exquisite situation in which local and national interests may diverge, potentially creating a great opportunity for vaccine tourism. I'm going to comment on the specific situations of each country, so if you are interested in one location in particular, feel free to skip to it below. We had previously reported that Russia had begun partially endorsing visitors to Moscow with the sole purpose of getting a COVID vaccine shot at a private clinic. While not technically official, many travel agencies such as Norwegian World Visitor, German Fitheisen, and Austrian IMPF Heisen were openly advertising travel packages, granting some degree of legitimacy and surety to the whole process we did not see in other countries, where the risk of the vaccine jab being denied on spot was real. World Visitor packages started at €1,600 for 2 short trips to Moscow, one for each vaccine dose, or €2,600 for a 23-day stay in Russia. The vaccine itself allegedly costs €200 to €220. Russia may be a great option for Europeans, particularly those of countries with travel agencies specialized in medical tourism, such as Germany. And now the same vaccine used in Russia, Sputnik V, has also been made available in San Marino, the small city-state inside Italy. CNN and Reuters reported 2 shots were priced at €15 to $60. Given the cheap price, this might be the perfect opportunity for you if you already live at a day's journey from San Marino, such as in Switzerland. The announced protocol requires spending 3 nights in San Marino after each dose, interspersed by 21 days. Together with the Maldives, this is the only officially endorsed program for vaccination of foreigners. In the last video I said small countries with a large tourism sectors were likely to follow the track of the Maldives regarding offering vaccines for tourists. And here we are. Albeit, I must admit, given the local regulations, I did not expect the next micronation to open its doors to vaccine tourists to be an European one. What actually gives San Marino its competitive advantage in this situation is that because it's not part of the European Union, it can make use of vaccines not yet approved in the EU, such as Sputnik V. Therefore, it has access to a market other EU countries are not currently competing for. The UAE maintains its position as an interesting, viable, non-official option for digital workers. While there is anecdotal evidence of people on tourist visas getting vaccinated, the sure path remains to enroll in a temporary residency program. Dubai, in particular, has marketed quite aggressively the opportunity for remote workers to relocate to the city during the pandemic. Considering residents are eligible to receive the vaccine, it seems obvious that would be an additional alluring factor, to say the least. If you are already familiar with Dubai and your work is location independent, you might want to consider experiencing the city as a resident for a few months as an alternative. And then we have perhaps the major destination for vaccine tourism, despite the fact popular and political opinion supporting this form of medical tourism is tenuous at best, the United States. It has become a prime target for people from Latin America due to its advanced vaccination statistics that have resulted in a relative oversupply of doses. Consequently, access to the vaccine tends to be easy, at the very least for Americans. Despite the fact immunizations could become an American export, much like the USA exports education by admitting thousands of foreign college students to its universities every year, there is still some degree of prejudice against vaccine tourists, based on the perception they compete with locals for access to vaccines. There are countless anecdotal reports claiming that getting vaccinated in the US as a foreigner is easy and not bureaucratic. I would recommend talking to a local lawyer to verify whether it's legal in the American state to plan to get vaccinated, and at the very least, checking if the location you intend to get vaccinated at requires a proof of residence. Already having an US visa is, quite obviously, a must. The USA is widely using the Moderna, Pfizer, BioNTech, and Johnson's vaccines. Whether you can choose your preferred one, for example, Johnson's is single dose, may vary based on location. New York, in particular, has become surprisingly receptive to vaccine tourists this week, going so far as to advertise the fact tourists could get vaccinated with the single-dose Johnson's vaccine. Note, however, that this advertisement was geared towards domestic tourists, not necessarily implying international tourists could get vaccinated. There is no doubt international medical tourism to the United States with the purpose of getting vaccinated is booming, despite the lack of official recognition. A Buenos Aires travel agency in Argentina, for example, estimated the vaccination trip at $3,400, including $2,000 in air tickets. This might be considerably harder if you live in Brazil, because due to travel restrictions to the United States, it might be necessary to quarantine for 2 weeks in a third country, usually a Caribbean isle, before proceeding to the US. The US might be a good bet if you live in the Americas, but proceed with care and at your own risk. The one place in the US where vaccine tourism for foreigners seems to have some clear official support is, unsurprisingly, in a small island with tourism, Guam. Currently, as reported in Japan Times, Guam is vaccinating American expats living in Asia, but plans to enlarge the program for foreign tourists in the future. Currently, it's called the Airbnb program. Unfortunately, it really seems like for the near future, Serbia's offer of COVID vaccine for tourists has ceased. Hopefully, the increasing rates of vaccination may once again lead to new surpluses of doses. 30,000 foreigners had been vaccinated in Serbia so far. So far, no new updates from the officially endorsed Maldives vaccine tourism sector. It appears to remain a goal for the Isles, due most likely to begin in June. We will be sure to share any updates on this promising upcoming program, as well as other unexpected announcements from around the world. Thank you for your attention. Please check with your lawyer before making any decision regarding going to other countries to take the vaccine. This is not medical advice. And if you are considering the possibility of going abroad to get vaccinated, consider subscribing, because I'll try to keep this list updated as new developments occur. Thank you for your attention, and I hope to see you on the next video.